When investigators entered into EMMANUEL HARO's home, they found some disturbing evidence, including a significant amount of blood on the floor. But what's even more disturbing is what investigators did not find. Investigators have now reported that when they entered the home, they couldn't find any sign, other than the blood on the floor, they couldn't find any sign that EMMANUEL had ever been there. There was not a single picture of that baby in that home. They could not find a single article of baby clothing that belonged to EMMANUEL. And right then and there, I don't know how investigators feel about it, but when I heard those details, for me, that let me know that both Rebecca and Jake, they were living in their own reality, trying to, I don't know, maybe escape their guilt if they even felt any. I don't really feel like they felt guilty, but they tried to remove any and everything that would remind them of EMMANUEL. It was almost as if they were trying to live their life like the child they conceived together was never born. And I'm really wondering what made them even come forward with this fake kidnapping story. Because family members said that they hadn't seen EMMANUEL in over a month. Rebecca would always have some sort of excuse as to why people couldn't see EMMANUEL. Her latest excuse was, oh, EMMANUEL didn't have his shots. I don't want EMMANUEL getting sick. But it's clear as day that they tried to remove EMMANUEL from their life in more ways than one. Not only did they take that baby's life for whatever reason, but I don't think it's an accident because of their charges. Not only did they take that baby's life, they tried to remove any signs that he ever existed. Now, I don't know if they did this to make themselves feel better, or if they did this because they thought that it would stop them from getting arrested. But I'm pretty sure that investigators, I understand they're professionals, but they have emotions too. When investigators enter into a home that should have been a home of a happy, loving child, and they realize there's no signs that child was ever there, that's automatically a red flag. Well, the other day, some employees came forward from a local hardware store claiming that Jake and Rebecca were at their store trying to buy a saw. Now, at first, I assumed that it was Jake that was trying to buy this saw. But now, it has been clarified that no, it was Rebecca. Now, apparently, she didn't buy the saw at that hardware store. I guess she decided not to, or they didn't have the right brand, but she didn't leave that store with the saw. But it's disturbing knowing that somewhere recently, we don't know if EMMANUEL was already missing or something had already happened to him or not. Supposedly they had a baby with them at the store, so we don't know. But we do know there was an attempt to buy a saw. And shortly after that attempt, Rebecca, this is now being reported, Rebecca went to donate a bunch of baby clothes. Now, isn't that weird? I don't know the exact date yet. I'm sure we'll find out soon when employees come forward and reveal more information. But allegedly, supposedly, the streets are talking, and they say that Rebecca went and donated a bunch of baby clothes. Now, add that to the fact that investigators didn't find any of EMMANUEL's clothes when they went into his home. That leads me to believe, we don't know for sure, but that leads me to believe that when Rebecca went to donate those clothes, EMMANUEL was probably already gone. We also know that investigators found some baby clothes in a dumpster close to EMMANUEL's home. We don't know if that's related or not. But I do find it weird that investigators find no clothes, they find no pictures, and now we're hearing that shortly after Rebecca went and tried to buy a saw, she went and donated a bunch of baby clothes, as if I don't know if she thought she was getting rid of evidence, or, like I said, I don't know if this is something that they did because they thought it would help them if they, caught law enforcement's attention. Did they think, oh, if investigators don't find any clothes, it would be harder for them to charge us with murder? I don't know what's going through their mind. I don't know if they did this for law enforcement or they did this for themselves. But at some point, after whatever happened to Emmanuel happened to him, there was a clear effort by Emmanuel's parents to get rid of all signs that Emmanuel ever even existed in their life and in their household. Maybe that's another reason why it's hard to find pictures of Emmanuel. I don't know. But this is really disturbing to me because it just shows you the state of mind that they were in. How could you, after knowing something horrible happened to your child, how could you even hold their clothes again? Let alone just gather all of their clothes and take that long trip to wherever you donated the clothes to, and you donate the clothes just knowing what happened to your kid. And here you are trying to get rid of any sign. At one point, somewhere along the line, I'm assuming you were happy. You were buying this baby's clothing. Maybe you had a baby shower and people were giving you gifts at one point. Bringing a new life into the world is a beautiful thing. So at one point, you got to think that maybe that there was some happiness here. At one point, Rebecca was buying the clothes for Emmanuel that she is now donating after participating in the death of Emmanuel. It's crazy how things work out sometimes. But unless investigators are able to recover Emmanuel's remains, or unless they're able to figure out something through their cell phone data or something along those lines, these little clues and tips and stuff that the public is putting out there, it may be all, not only that we have to work with, but all investigators have to work with when it comes to setting up a timeline here. Because I think that we can look at Jake and Rebecca's actions and we could kind of figure out, okay, Emmanuel was probably already gone by this point. And we don't know that for a fact, but I would assume that because investigators couldn't find any clothing, I would assume that whenever those clothes got donated, that something had already happened to Emmanuel. So we're really still trying to figure out a timeline here of when Emmanuel was last seen alive, when did he disappear, and like I said, without remains and without some type of data or something pulled from their cell phones, we're going to have to go retrace Rebecca and Jake's steps. And luckily, people in the area, they've been, speaking out about what's going on, and they've come forward with things that they've seen. So as of right now, that's kind of all we have to cling on to, when it comes to when did Emmanuel disappear? When did Jake and Rebecca kill Emmanuel? But I'm going to keep my eye on this story. There's so many updates still coming in. Even though Jake and Rebecca were arrested, there's still so many answers that we have. There's still so many answers that law enforcement has apparently as well. So we're going to try to figure those things out. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you put on your notifications for this channel. Let me know your thoughts below. Hit that like button, and I'll talk to you all in the next one.